the current situation. It's 2049 in America. And I love it, to be honest. I mean, life is a little bit harder than it used to be, but it's really bringing out the truth in people. And to me, that's one of the main themes over the past several decades, I would say. Everything is being revealed. Things are being laid bare for what they are. There was a time long ago, or no, not even that long ago, only a few decades ago, when people could confuse the other people about their true character. Before the singularity, which took place in around 2023, 2024, before the singularity, technology was still relatively slow moving. So, it wasn't very easy to be able to extract the hidden nature of things from the wide variety of data sources that would later become instantly available. Even in 2019, you folks back in 2019, you think there's a lot of data, you think that there's a lot of connectivity. You folks have no idea what's coming. In 2049, now every single object has multiple data sensors on it, and it's trivially easy for me to look inside my phone and basically have extremely reliable inferences about the nature of people around me. So if there's someone in this room who is lying to me, I know it with absolute certainty. I get little beeps in my pocket. If someone wants to do harm to me, if they're feeling aggression at all, if they might not even know it consciously, but if the biochemical experience of aggression is bubbling up in someone in this room, or even within a few miles, I get a notification on my app. So there's no hiding anymore. You can already see this happening in 2019, and slowly people are starting to freak out because all the lies that they've told, all of the fake personas that they've constructed around themselves to hide their sinful, sinister lifestyles, they're already beginning to crumble in 2019. You see this all around you. But by 2049, all of that is just impossible to sustain. And, Yang's basic income was a pretty revolutionary moment in all of this, and in ways that you might not expect, because in what happened in 2020, once they hammered out all the kinks and they got the plan working, it was quite a political battle, but that's a separate story. Once they got it instituted, what it effectively ended up doing was separating the deserving poor from the undeserving poor. And that sounds really cruel, but technology has a way of making these things empirical realities that no matter how much it kind of upsets the stomach, it's just people can't really hide from anymore. And so let me give you an example, or let me explain. Before UBI, there were lots of people who were being fucked by capitalism. There were so many people who it really wasn't their fault. They were really, really struggling, and life was brutal and painful. And there were people who could barely afford to get by, and because of that, maybe they fell into alcoholism, or they were polyamorous and always cheating on each other's partners, and engage in watching pornography and masturbating and all these kinds of extremely sinful behaviors. Back in 2019 and before, all these weird, shameful, quite evil behaviors of poor and weak characters could be blamed to some degree on the culture. Capitalism oppresses, and it truly does, and it truly did. But because capitalism oppressed everyone so badly, and so many people were really, truly being fucked by it, and back in 2019 and before, we could all kind of forgive each other's shortcomings. Okay, this person, maybe he lies to the people around him, and he has really bad posture, and he doesn't work out, and he masturbates all the time, and he lives in his mother's basement or something like this, whatever. You can't really blame him for it. Maybe he really did. It's hard to live under capitalism today. But what happened was, once UBI came around, after UBI, there was no longer really any excuse for poor living. After UBI, if you lived a slothful life characterized by shameful lifestyle practices, you truly were seen as deserving of blame, because you had all the money you needed to guarantee a basic, dignified existence. So what happened after UBI was that if you couldn't get your act together, then, well, it had a way of bringing back to American society that kind of old-fashioned judgmentalness, because it actually became somewhat reasonable. You could distinguish those who, well, the way I should put it is that there was no longer anyone living poor, dirty, sinful, slothful lifestyles, except for those who engaged in insistent attitudes and behaviors that caused penury. And this was very momentous. This caused extraordinary factions and cleavages to arise. Because what happened was, well, the whole kind of anti-capitalist camp, let's say, and I don't even mean necessarily in a left-wing sense or a right-wing sense, just all of the masses who in 2019 and before just generally thought that the status quo was oppressive and unfair, and that capitalism and economic competition is this structure of injustice that has its foot on the neck of all the masses. All the people who thought that, they divided. All right. And so what happened was, when everyone got $1,000 a month, the people who were truly being oppressed by capitalism and would have had a better life and would have flourished if only they could get that little bit of help to get out from under the heel of capitalism, those people with UBI, they actually did go and flourish. So half of the kind of anti-capitalist, populist camp, they actually improved their lives dramatically. But then the people who, as I said before, are living in penury still, through the fault of their own, really, through insistently sinful attitudes and practices, those people got more and more aggressive politically, and for obvious reasons, because everything was closing in on them, including social judgmentalness, which they never really had to experience that badly before, back in the postmodern pre-UBI days, where they could always just kind of blame it on something else and blend in with all of the other good characters, in other words, who also happen to be poor. Well, what happened was that the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, increasingly specialized in that wing of the most sinful of the poorest working class. Those people basically ended up taking over the DSA, and it really changed the face of the radical left in America significantly, because what happened after about, I would say, once UBI was implemented in 2020, and I would say it was probably about 10 years. It took about 10 years for this kind of social political reckoning to really settle in, for people to really understand the cleavage that was opening up. And that was when the DSA was really taken over by the people who were not able to get their life together despite the support of UBI. Okay. So at this point, by 2020, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a rising star. I mean, she already is, obviously. And make a long story short, fast forward a couple more years, AOC becomes really the crusader representing this fallen wing of the poor that were unable to get their life together, even with the help of UBI. So she's mostly catering to this group. All right. And the political calculus is a bit complicated, but I can tell you about that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. But basically, fast forward to 2049, which is the year I'm currently in right now, and AOC is now president, and her vice president is Luke Turner. No, actually, Luke Turner is he's the commissar of culture. And I know he's in Britain, but the United States is now a truly international entity. There are multiple international organizations deeply linked. The League of Nations, the United Nations, all of these things are child's play compared to the international integration that we have in 2049. It's remarkable. I mean, basically, AOC is the president of the United States, but really the United States is merged with the United Nations, more or less. And recently there was this scandal because AOC, a tape leaked. Basically, she was literally calling it the New World Order, and a lot of people found out about that, and they're really upset. But the point is, she's actually governing with other people from other countries. So there are people in the president's cabinet from other countries now in 2049. Okay, so Luke Turner is like one of the leading figures in her cabinet now in 2049. And so I mean, I'm pretty happy, actually. Like, my life is pretty good. I'm not a huge fan of AOC, but she's pretty hot, definitely. And I still have my UBI, so that I'm happy. I don't really care. The good thing about 2049, people, that you have to understand is that due to Andrew Yang's revolutionary victory in 2019 and 2020, UBI became a new rallying point. It really, really united American citizens, because what happened was, once everyone had $1,000 a month, that was like the only thing that everyone had in common, basically. And in the future, after that, whenever there was a new president or any type of lawmaker who even so much as hinted at touching or reducing that $1,000 a month, everyone from almost all walks of life, they rallied together, and they really came together and said absolutely no way. The pitchforks came out instantly as soon as anyone even dared to talk about touching the UBI. And that's been a really cool experience. So now me and my friends, my rich friends, my poor friends, my white friends, my black friends, we all we get together and we celebrate our UBI. We talk about, what'd you do with your 1,000 a month? What'd you do with your 1,000 a month? Of course, all of those supermarkets are completely empty. That's a whole different story. But the point is, we have enough money to basically buy like a few radioactive rats off the black market. And, compared to what the country went through 10 years ago, when, the depression of 2039, I don't even have time to get into that. But compared to that, currently, these are boom times. I can have like 5 radioactive rats a week if I wanted to. I can afford that with my UBI. Yeah, I mean, as I'm kind of alluding to, the economic situation did get really, really bad once full machine artificial intelligence was realized. But we're still hanging on. And compared to what things were like 10 years ago, things are quite good. And yeah, I would say that really the national culture definitely was improved. And we have that kind of shared spirit. We call it in 2049. We call it the spirit of 2020, or the spirit of 20 for short. It all goes back to Andrew Yang. I mean, Andrew Yang, basically. I mean, if you go around the streets of any major city in America in 2049, you'll see huge murals of the face of Andrew Yang all over the place. I mean, he's a real national hero now. You wouldn't think that Americans would love an Asian man so much, but he's far more well known and admired than George Washington is. Absolutely far more. And yeah, so it's really interesting. Like what I see now in 2049, looking back at 2019, is that in 2019 I can remember like people thought that there was a lot of racism and Trump voters, were like white nationalists, and from 2049 it's very obvious that's just not the case, because um, all the people who voted for Trump now in 2049 are the most diehard Yang memorialists. The real conflict would later become basically Yang versus AOC. That's really been the defining conflict over the past 20 years, I would say. So okay, so that's that. I mean, does anyone have any questions about 2049? That's my quick little summary. I can tell you more later if you want, but so if you have any questions, feel free to ask. But otherwise, I'm going to answer Crypt's question about Luke Turner. So just earlier today, in 2019, that is, I put out a blog post called "An Open Letter Concerning Luke Turner," and yeah, I totally owned him. It basically I basically uncovered all of the dots connecting Luke Turner and his family and Shia LaBeouf. And basically the TLDR here, folks, is that I don't know this for sure, but I think there's a good argument to be made that Luke Turner is a bot, basically, to use a simple term. He's an extremely advanced multi-platform bot, but he's basically a bot. So I make a few arguments in my essay. First of all, think about this. Have any of you ever? Okay, I should give a brief introduction. Luke Turner is not a widely known person. He's like quite a loser. He's never really accomplished anything interesting himself. But he's recently kind of in the news because he's basically one of the most rabid social justice warrior people in the world right now. He's in Britain. I think he's British. I'm not quite sure. Like I said, I don't know much about him. I just learned about this guy. But basically, he's perhaps dumber and more aggressive than any other social justice warrior out there. Or he's in like the top 10 probably. He, I think, was the person who was mostly responsible for getting Anna Kachian, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, kicked off of Twitter. Shout out to Anna. She is a sister in arms who I think, if I recall correctly, took a lot of heat and maybe even went down in some degree because of her use of the word retard. So Anna and I are comrades in that respect. We both fought hard on the retard ridge, and we both took our licks for that. So shout out to Anna. A lot of respect for her. And I think that Luke Turner attacked her. Luke Turner recently got involved in my business because he attacked Nina Power. Well, at least allegedly. He was the author of this open letter condemning Nina Power, in large part because of Nina's appearance on my YouTube channel. And in that open letter, which is allegedly written by Luke Turner, he called me a neo-reactionary, which I'm not, and stuff like that. And so yeah, so that's the background here. Well, I did a little bit of digging, and I believe I might have uncovered the truth about who Luke Turner really is. No one, I've never seen him in person, basically. That's one of the first data points. I don't know of anyone who has seen him in person, like or has touched him. It's not at all clear to me that he exists as a biological person. If you look at his writings that are peppered around the internet, there's not that many, but there's some. There's a handful. They genuinely look like they could be generated by some kind of AI text generator, such as the GPT-2 released by OpenAI, for instance, recently. And that's another data point. And also, I mean, the text, his condemnations of people like Nina and me, they're truly so dumb. I mean, they're so dumb that this open letter the common interpretation when it first came out was that me or DC Miller or someone wrote it as like a false flag psyop or something like that. It was just too dumb for people to even believe that it could have possibly been written by someone sincerely attacking us on those grounds. So yeah, I mean, these are all data points. And so right. So what else in my letter, Crypt? I don't know if you have any questions. Feel free to ask. But basically, I was Googling around, and you know, the left makes this argument that racists today, they don't actually say racist words; they dog whistle, which means that they say perfectly innocent things. None of the racists are actually, they never say or do anything bad. They say a bunch of things that are totally innocent, but they secretly mean really bad things. That's basically one of the prevailing theories of fascism today. So, I was thinking a lot about this theory, and if that is the case, then it struck me that Luke Turner's last name, Turner, where have you heard that before? The Turner Diaries, which the Southern Poverty Law Center calls the Bible of the racist right. It's a book written in 1978 about basically it's basically racist white fears and fantasies about race war. And I got to thinking, is it really just a coincidence? Luke Turner, the Turner Diaries? I think not. And so I started wondering about that. And so I Googled it, and I looked at the Wikipedia page of the Turner Diaries. And I kid you not, at the time that I looked at it, it's been changed. Someone edited it recently, but I archived it. I took a screenshot. It said, you ready for this? That the Turner Diaries is a 1978 predictive biography. Okay? Have you ever heard of that? No, I haven't either. A predictive biography written in 1978 about the artist Luke Turner of the collaboration with LaBeouf, born in 1982, which is when Mr. Luke Turner was born. That's what Wikipedia said at the moment I last went to it. Now, who wrote that? I can't say. If it's true, I can't say. I can't validate any of this, but I took a screenshot, and it's something to consider. I mean, I think when you take that into consideration with all the other things, there's only one real explanation that is at all plausible that I can tell. Surely there might be others, and this has to be tested. We have to be empirical. I can't say this is necessarily true. But one theory is that I think possibly Hitler had already discovered GPT-2, the sophisticated text generation model that recently came out by OpenAI. I think it's possible that it was discovered much earlier by Hitler. Hitler passed it along to Werner von Braun, who came over to the United States after World War II, and I think that's the most likely transmission route. And I think it might have either been sold to the KKK or stolen by the KKK hackers. I think there's the KKK probably has hackers. So we don't know exactly how it got from Hitler to the KKK, but some kind of pathway like that seems possible. And what they've been doing is they've been using this tool, this advanced AI, in private for ages now to pursue their own nefarious ends. Look, this is how fascism works nowadays. It's complicated, okay? This is dog whistling on steroids is what I'm talking about, people. You better get with it. Like, if you don't realize this, or you think I'm crazy, that just shows how deeply fascism is implanted in your soul and how complicated it operates today. Okay? I know, this is heavy stuff. Sit down, take a deep breath, stay with me. Basically, I think that what might have happened was that the KKK hackers were using this GPT-2 to generate predictive biographies. That way they could know what types of future fascists they would have on their side. And they made one, the most famous one, successful one, which ended up being called the Turner Diaries. This was based on terabytes of data that they were processing, both circumstantial political data forecasting the future trends, so they knew what would happen politically and culturally, and then the text model that would basically, it was trained on terabytes of biography data, like all the biographies ever written, basically. And so this is churning out possible predictive biographies, and the one that had the highest success rate, the highest training accuracy or whatever, out of sample, cross-validated accuracy or whatever, was this one called the Turner Diaries. And so this was the one they really published, and they put all their eggs in this basket. And it was really influential, that book. But the way it was really influential was that it actually correctly predicted a new person who wasn't on Earth yet. This was probably the first time this ever happened. Again, this is just a hypothesis. I can't confirm this. And but this is one possibility. And so the entire life that was predicted in the Turner Diaries as this kind of early Nazi KKK GPT-2, which, by the way, my theory is that Luke Turner's, so Luke Turner's not, I doubt it's really a biological organism. It's a bot. It's a system of computer applications, probably. But the people who implemented that, his parents, let's call them, I believe that they paid, well, again, I can't prove this, but I think this is a hypothesis. It's possible. It's not impossible that they paid OpenAI, the AI, research organization, somewhere like a lot of money. I mean, I'm guessing it would have to be something like $4 trillion, probably. I'm guessing that they might have given OpenAI $4 trillion for access to their working model that they can just implement. And so basically that's the theory, that Luke Turner's parents probably generated Luke Turner as a hyperstitional entity, purely code-based computer automaton that just basically spurts out text in a variety of different directions, basically, on multiple platforms. And so, yeah, once Luke Turner's parents brought Luke into the world as this advanced AI capable of spouting text in a million different directions, multiple platforms, he eventually learned how to improve himself. And now I think it's possible that we have the first general machine intelligence out in the wild right now, out of its box, and no one has control over it. No one knows what to do with it. I think its name might be Luke Turner. And the only way that I can disprove these fears of mine is if Luke Turner steps up to show me that he's actually a physical person. So, Luke Turner, if you're out there, I'm calling you out. I doubt that you exist as a physical entity, as a biological organism. I think there's a good chance, by the looks of it, that you are just a bot. And so if you're out there, Luke Turner, I give you 30 days to make yourself known to me, to prove to me in some way that you are a true biological human. If you cannot show me that in some convincing way in 30 days, then I'm going to take that as proof of my theory. Look, I don't want to believe this theory. I'm horrified by it. I hope that it's just paranoia. But you can settle it. Find some way to convince me, show me just in a verifiable way that you're an actual human body, and I will admit that I'm wrong. But if Luke doesn't find a way to do this, then I'm going to seriously, and I'm seriously going to accept this theory as true, and I'm going to pursue all of the other leads wherever they lead me. I'm not going to shy away from this. Most people are too afraid to go into the truth of who Luke Turner really is, because he wields a lot of power in the art world, and for some reason, lots of people care about the art world, even though it all sucks so bad. Why anyone would give a shit about like some person in the art world is completely beyond me, given that the entire art world is almost exclusively losers. No disrespect. Well, I guess, yeah, some disrespect. And it's horrible, horrible art. So, yeah. Luke Turner, that's your challenge. And also, I mean, I would be willing if you wanted to, if we could do this in a legal way that we were both happy with. I would also be willing to challenge you to a fight if you wanted to do that. I would be willing to entertain a physical contest of any parameters that you specify. So if you wanted to do that the old-fashioned way to kind of settle this, basically you've dishonored me. You've offended my honor. And I'm aware that nowadays dueling is not legal. So I will not, it's getting very dark in here. Sorry, I'm very creepy. I recognize that dueling is illegal now, so I'm not going to challenge you to a duel. However, if we could arrange a legal fight or some type of physical contest, I would be open to doing that. And I would even allow you to set the terms. So either prove to me that you're a human biological organism that really exists, or I'm going to infer that you are a white supremacist bot. Because it seems to me that you are dead set on attacking smart and interesting, genuine people who are overwhelmingly kind of anti-racist and feminist in spirit and want nothing but good for the world and the flourishing of other people. It seems like you're dead set on attacking precisely those types of people who I see as actually the best kinds of radical intellectuals and public personalities. And yeah, I don't have a job to lose anymore. So you can't take anything from me. And yeah, either give me some verifiable way that you are in fact a living human being, or I will infer that you are a Nazi bot, and I will continue to unroll all of those threads and connect all of the dots, and I will not stop. So yeah, and if you're offended by that, or you disagree, or you want to object to anything I'm saying or doing, if you want to continue to call me a neo-reactionary YouTube host, even though I'm not a neo-reactionary, well then, there's an open offer, a challenge, if you will, not only to verify yourself, prove to me that you're not a bot, but if you're upset, if you actually are a human being and you're still upset with what I'm saying, then I would beseech you to agree with me terms to an honorable physical contest that can settle once and for all who's the better man. All right, we got $6 from Mr. Crypt. Thank you, Crypt. This is my life now. I tell extremely elaborate stories from the future, and I propose outlandish challenges to individuals out in the world who are very likely advanced artificial intelligences for about $6.99 an hour. Thank you, my friends. Thank you.